Walk into almost any supermarket and glance at the tabloids by the checkout aisle. You'll find an entire industry focused on predicting the world's end. This fixation extends to many high-profile religious figures. Mainstream leaders have frequently published guides and warnings regarding end times timelines. Geopolitical conflicts are often interpreted through this lens. The Middle East is routinely framed as the theater for Armageddon, with regional leaders cast as signs of the coming apocalypse. Speculative timelines are applied directly to specific heads of state, attempting to calculate the exact moment history will conclude. But the data in the text shows a different reality. Analysis of biblical prophetic literature reveals that less than 10% of the material concerns future events. Equating prophecy with psychic fortune-telling is a modern interpretive lens. It replaces the text's primary focus with a preoccupation with the end of time. This predictive focus has recurring historical consequences. In the mid-19th century, a Massachusetts farmer named William Miller preached the final advent would occur in 1843. When the date passed, he moved it to 1844. Thousands abandoned their farms and businesses, some even climbing trees to wait for a resurrection that did not happen. Similar social disruption occurred in 1988, when a widely circulated pamphlet listed 88 reasons the world would end that fall, leading some students to withdraw from their studies to brace for the event. The Apostle Paul addressed this same behavior in the 1st century. Members of the church in Thessalonica were so convinced the end was imminent that they stopped working and began living off the resources of others. When a community is entirely absorbed by a speculative future, it often ignores its responsibilities to the present. The predictive model frequently leads to social and economic paralysis. To understand the actual function of these texts, we have to look at the mechanical definition of the term itself. The English word prophet comes from two Greek roots, pro, meaning instead of, and the verb themi, meaning to speak. Etymologically, the word identifies a spokesperson, someone who delivers a message on behalf of another party. Historically, a prophet's role was to speak on behalf of God to address the immediate conditions of their own society. By definition, these spokespeople were tasked with confronting the specific moral behaviors of their own generation. This function is built directly into the structure of the Hebrew Bible. The Tanakh is divided into 3 sections: the Torah, or law, the Nevi'im, or prophets, and the Ketuvim, the writings. The middle section, the Nevi'im, is further divided into 2 functional halves. The former prophets consist of historical books like Kings. These provide the socio-political substrate, the actual events occurring on the ground. The latter prophets, like Isaiah and Jeremiah, contain the oracles and messages delivered in response to that specific history. You cannot accurately interpret the oracles of the latter prophets without first understanding the gritty political reality described in the former prophets. When read in their historical context, the oracles reveal a primary obsession with societal abuse and the enforcement of justice. Abraham Joshua Heschel was the scholar who brought this focus back to modern biblical studies. Heschel was the first Jewish scholar invited to teach his framework on the prophets at a Christian theological seminary, bridging traditional academic divides. Heschel wrote that the prophets speak about the poor as if the entire world were a slum. This perspective was driven by tzedakah, the demand for righteous and fair living. As this comparison shows, a minor business calculation that we might call a misdemeanor, the prophets treated as a moral disaster. They condemned land monopolies, the oppression of widows, and the accumulation of personal wealth while the poor were neglected. The prophets established the connection between religious devotion and the ethical treatment of other people. While the prophets were often harsh critics, their literature operates in a consistent dual cycle. The first half is devastating critique. Jeremiah warned the nation's injustice would lead to Jerusalem's destruction in 586 BCE. But the cycle always concludes with restoration. Ezekiel promised God would replace their heart of stone with flesh and restore their community. A principle from the Talmud captures this dynamic between judgment and mercy. The rabbis taught, if you have to spank a child with the left hand, you must always draw them nearer with the right. The stinging rebukes of the prophets were not intended to destroy the people, but were always coupled with a promise of restoration. This cycle clarifies what the prophetic tradition requires of its readers today. The prophets reject the passive anticipation of a future apocalypse. Instead, they demand active engagement with the marginalized and the disenfranchised in the present. The final 2 words of the book of Ezekiel summarize this goal. Yod-He-Vav-He, Shema. The Lord is there. True prophecy is the conviction that the presence of God is proven by a society's commitment to justice and its capacity for hope.